Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Reverend Emperor Stuart Ellen Swerdlow.
And Janet Diane Moria Swerdlow.
And this is the Expansions News Podcast for the second week of November 2018.
And your birthday is now beyond us.
Thank you for reminding me. I want to thank the two people who sent me gifts from my birthday. And they both sent the same thing.
Well, there was a third person who sent a gift that wasn't the same thing.
I don't remember that one.
That's insulting, that person.
You'll have to whisper in my ear later who that person is. But I want to thank the two people who sent me the Hanger One vodka and rosé wine mix. Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
And we won't mention the person who sent the beautiful bouquet of flowers then.
Oh, yes. And thank you, person, for the beautiful bouquet. Actually, two. They sent me two bouquets of flowers. And for the others who didn't send me anything, turn your computers off because I'm not talking to you. Anyway, guess what?
What?
Here it is. The second week of November. And it's freezing freaking cold outside.
Well, that's normal for us.
Well, it's below freezing, below 0 centigrade. And we've had snow for a couple of days.
Normal for us.
But the laughing thing is, on the, was it AccuWeather? No, I think it was Weather Channel. It said, it's the warmest November so far. Were they in Miami? They only monitor Miami weather.
I think I saw Miami was like 88 or something a couple days ago. So I think
that
that's
would be
where
like
they are.
30 centigrade. You have to remember most of our audience is not American.
Some of them.
And so right now we are -3 centigrade with snow since for when was the last time we saw the sun?
I don't know.
Like September, I think.
Like SON or SUN?
Both. I haven't seen my SONs in a long time except for one, and he's like rare. But the SUN, I haven't seen that in weeks. It's very depressing sometimes.
Not for me, because I was raised in Seattle and I like it.
Yeah, but you had rain and here is snow.
Yeah, but I'm used to not seeing the sun.
Anyway, that's why I need more Hanger One mix of vodka.
I don't think so.
Because it helps me feel so much happier.
Yeah, you teach people to deal with their mind, as I recall.
No, but really, we need to deal with the news because it's very serious. And it's very serious because this past week, an ex-Marine killed, get this, 13 people. Now that 13 means 11 people inside the bar, one police officer, and then he committed suicide. 13 people. And the gunman had post-traumatic stress syndrome. He was 28 years old, and his mother and neighbors said that they were frightened of him after he returned from Afghanistan. His name was Ian David Long, and I mentioned years ago that the name David is a programming name. And he was 28 years old. He opened fire at the Borderline Bar and Grill in Thousand Oaks at 11:20 p.m. 11 plus 2 is 13. 13 people dead. The time adds up to 13. And he was dressed all in black. But his gun, a 45 caliber handgun, was legally owned. He threw smoke grenades into the bar to confuse the people. Now here's the thing. This past April, police and mental health specialists were called to his home after neighbors heard crashing sounds inside, and they decided he was not qualified to be committed involuntarily and left him at home.
I've heard certain stories like that, a lot of them recently.
Now, he served in the Marines from 2008 to 2013, and there's a third 13, and he had 10 medals during his tour in Afghanistan. In 2009, he was caught shoplifting during one of his posts. A college roommate of his said he was mean, a loner, and would often dance in their garage alone. Okay, not too much to be disturbed about there.
So how to get his medals then?
Survivors from the shooting said he looked like he knew what he was doing as he opened fire. Yeah, because he was programmed to do it. He was acting irrationally. Well, actually, I should say, when the police were called months ago, they said he was acting irrationally and was irate. So police called in their mental health specialist, but cleared him, deciding against having him committed. I think the police need new mental health specialists.
I think those need to be examined, absolutely.
Because here's another person known to the authorities that should have been committed but was allowed free and then killed people. This we hear every time.
Yep.
Now, going to Europe, 20,000 armed Muslim migrants are attacking the border of Croatia because they're trying to get into the EU, but this is not on the news. Did you hear about it? It's not on the news. I heard this from other sources. 95% of them are men, and they have already stabbed a border policeman. The majority of them come from Pakistan, Iran, Algeria, and Morocco. But most people think they're going through Croatia to get to Austria, but they're not. Because the migrants want to go to Germany or one of the Scandinavian countries. And we know Sweden is already effed up with that. And here's the interesting part. Most of these young men have prepaid credit cards supplied by the United Nations from their High Commission on Refugees and the United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund. So in other words, the United Nations is funding Muslim terrorists to come into the EU. So I don't blame, God bless Eastern Europe for trying to block these people. God bless Croatia, Hungary, Poland, Czech Republic. God bless them. Now, did you know that President Trump is in France?
No. Oh yeah, I did. I read that about him and Macron.
And on 11/11, he's going to meet with Putin. No accident with that one, eh? But before this even happened, this past week, President Trump had an issue with reporters at the White House during a press conference in which he answered questions related to the midterm elections that just happened. And at one point, CNN correspondent Jim Acosta,
Oh, I saw that.
yeah, accosted, perfect name for him, accosted, asked Trump to explain his emphasis on the caravan of Central American migrants headed to our southern border, which Trump has called an invasion. Trump said he considered it an invasion and that any attempt to dispute that was a difference of opinions. And let me explain that. Because legally, there's a reason why he's calling it invasion. Because if it's an invasion, he can suspend the rights of the illegal aliens who cross over, because it's an invasion. And then he does not have to prove habeas corpus and all of that stuff. And I agree with that. But when Trump attempted to move on to another question, Acosta/accosted held onto his microphone to continue asking questions. And one of the White House aides tried to grab the mic, and he hit her with his hand. Now, it says it was a doctored film. It was not doctored. I saw the film. He frickin' hit her. He should be He should be brought up on charges of abuse. So Trump said to him, "You are rude. You are a rude and terrible person." He is. And he also reprimanded him for what he said was horrible treatment of White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders at the daily press conference. And that's the truth. This Acosta is a shill. He is a hand puppet, hand up his butt by the CNN handlers for him to, on all these people on CNN, they're all puppets. They can't, all they do is read news. They do no research of their own. They're brainless idiots. So yes, Acosta is rude. So are all the reporters at CNN. Even former CNN host Larry King, who was at CNN for decades and who's now at Russia Today, that's interesting, says CNN no longer reports the news. And that's
big.
Larry King.
Yeah. Did you see that story about Macron and Trump where Macron touched his leg?
No.
Yeah.
How sexy.
Yeah, I didn't read. I was going to read the story and then
He
I got
touched
distracted.
Trump's leg?
I think so, to get his attention.
Because Trump was doing what?
I don't know, because I didn't get a chance to read the story because I got interrupted and then I forgot
Well,
about it. So
I'm
I
glad
wondered
you
if
brought
saw
this
that.
up because Macron, his wife, Macron said that France and the EU should develop its own army to protect against U.S.
No, he's meeting with Trump.
And now I guess Trump smacked them around because the last thing I saw he was holding hands and blah blah blah. Come on, little boy Macron, I'll give you candy and ice cream.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Anyway, to the Middle East. Did you know that Jerusalem will have a new mayor in a week or so?
No.
And that the election this year is based really on religious ideas. You know what the Sanhedrin is?
Mm-hmm.
It is the ancient Hebrew or Jewish court, which still exists. And the Sanhedrin sent a letter to the two candidates who are running for office for Jerusalem in regards to the third temple of Jerusalem.
We keep hearing that.
Mm-hmm. Now, one candidate, his name is Moshe Leon. He is 33% of the vote. The other candidate is Ofer Birkovich with 29% so far of the vote. But Leon has been previously allied with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, the Sanhedrin sent a letter to both of them. And I will quote what the Sanhedrin said, quote, "With God's merciful approval, one of you will be chosen as head of the city. May it be built and made ready for its ultimate purpose. We call on the candidates as well as the voters to make choices based on truth and on the main aspect of Jerusalem, which is the building of the temple." The Sanhedrin wrote a letter similar to President Donald Trump after he won the election, calling on him to take a role in building the third temple as the Persian king Cyrus helped the Jews build the second temple after the Babylonian exile in the 6th century before Christ. And I have a whole section on that in the January class about the replay in modern times of ancient scenarios which are now being replayed now with new people.
Sounds fascinating.
Yeah. The Sanhedrin also said, avoiding this essential issue endangers the existence of the city and its identity as the capital of Israel, thereby endangering Israel itself. Every Jew and all of humanity are commanded to ascend to the Temple Mount. Did you know that? Have you been there?
No, I'd like to go.
I've been there.
I know.
I fulfilled the commandment.
I have not.
I forget to absolvo.
I have to give you dirty looks and that, and then they'll always comment on that. Janet, why aren't you laughing?
Janet is so terrible, blah, blah, blah. She's true. She is terrible to me. And also the Sanhedrin said, we expect you as candidates to relate to this role the city has as home of the temple. The subject is not simply a matter of religious belief, but must also be expressed in political, fiscal, and educational terms. And remember, in my September class, I told you there were two messiahs, a political one and a religious one, which is what the Sanhedrin is repeating here now. And they continue on, and they say Jerusalem is in its entirety and sanctified as holy and is a spiritual center of the world, the throne of God. We urge you to make public your plans relating to this aspect of the city. There are several ways this can be accomplished, such as festivals of holiness to replace those of impurity. So this also goes back to ancient times where the northern kingdom of Israel. There was two kingdoms, Israel and Judea.
You talked about this in the September class, but
Yes.
probably some of these people weren't there.
Yes,
So
but the northern
remind
kingdom
them.
was connected to the Phoenician queen Jezebel, who married the Jewish king, and she brought all kinds of horrible things in, and so that's what he's referring to here. Now, the Sanhedrin has already begun working towards this end, holding full dress reenactments of the temple service before the biblical feast. This is very, very important, and it was attended with representatives from South American countries. Brazil now has a new president, and Brazil said now they will also move
I remember.
their embassy to Jerusalem. Remember, most of Central and South America are very Catholic, and they're also very supportive of Israel. The Sanhedrin goes on to say, Jerusalem must be prepared to host millions of pilgrims who will attend the feast when the third temple is built. We also call upon the government to prepare a center for an international body to replace the United Nations and the Hague,
Wow.
one that will be rooted in the Bible.
Wow.
Wow,
That's
that's
a
right.
huge thing.
Oh yes, so there's preparation for end times coming of the Messiah. Here I is, I'm ready. Now, just a quick thing going to Australia, because we had the shooting at the temple in who was that shooting?
The one that just... Oh, you're talking about Philadelphia. That one?
No, was it? No, it wasn't.
Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh, thank
Yes.
you. Pittsburgh, we had the shooting in California, and now there's a man who set a car on fire and stabbed 3 people, one fatally, in Melbourne, Australia. And he has also died in a hospital after being shot by police. Authorities now say they're treating the attack as a terror-related. Really? Because guess what? They said the suspect, who is of Somali origin, get this, someone that is known to both local and police and federal intelligence, mainly in respect to relatives who are certainly persons of interest. So, again, the person in California was known, the guy in Pittsburgh was known, this guy was known. My question, known to authorities but allowed to kill. Why?
Well, he was 31, so if we backwards, that's a 13.
Yes.
And what about all the fires in California?
Well, you want me to go into that?
Yeah, just briefly.
I've told you many, many times, there is huge plume of magma underneath California and most of the West Coast, which is now rising up. It ignites the roots of the trees, goes up in flames, and causes the fires. Now, interestingly, in all the other fires, they always said, oh, someone threw a cigarette, someone lit a campfire. They didn't say that this time. They're not saying why.
No, but they're saying that it's just traveling so fast
It's
that...
faster than any known fire.
Right.
This is not what they considered natural. It's because it's from freaking magma, and this is the beginning of the end of California.
Yeah, it's from underneath.
Plus, there have been like 60 earthquakes along the San Andreas fault line. Last week, I told you about the Salton Sea bubbling and moving at 60 miles per day outside of Salton Sea. If I were in California, I couldn't get out of there fast enough.
Lots of stuff going on there.
Mm-hmm.
And I just have one relatively quick story.
Just one?
Just one.
Huh.
This is about the border issue again, and the people who are marching to our border. Apparently, that we have a militia that is gathering.
Right.
Now, it's interesting because they talk a little bit about it, and they said that gun-carrying civilian groups and border vigilantes have heard a call to arms, according to President Trump's warnings. So these people, they say they're packing their coolers, their tents, they're oiling their rifles, they're getting their drones ready, and they have plans to form caravans of their own and go to the American troops to the border.
Didn't he say, President Trump, he's sounding like 15,000 troops now or something?
I didn't get the last count. But according to this, now it's kind of funny because they give this specific article quite a bit of press. But then in the end, they say there's only going to be 200 militia members. But I believe there's going to be a lot more than that.
There'll be thousands.
That are going to show up, absolutely. Apparently, Shannon McGauley, who is a bail bondsman in the Dallas suburbs, is the president of the Texas Minutemen. And he said that he was preparing to head to the Rio Grande soon. He said, we've proved ourselves before, we'll prove ourselves again. And he claims there are 100 volunteers en route. But like I said, I believe
it's more than that. I know that.
And he said he can't put his finger on it. His phone's ringing. There's a militia coming from Oregon, Indiana, from Canada.
Yeah.
But then they go on Canada.
Hey.
Well, because I guess they figure they're next.
We'll bring the bacon and the beer
and the maple syrup.
Yeah, maple syrup. Thank you for reminding me.
They have a lot of maple syrup. Anyway, so then they said that the troops are concerned that once the militia get there, that they will not behave themselves.
Who won't?
The militia.
Well, you know what? Neither the these so-called migrants.
Yeah, they claim that the militia in the past has actually stolen military property.
I don't believe that.
Well, that's what they're trying to say.
That's just the propaganda.
They said unregulated militia members self-deploying to the border. Let's see. Steal National Guard equipment during deployments. I don't know if that's
I don't
true
believe
or not.
that for 1 second. This is propaganda by CNN.
Yeah, and Shannon McGauley, that's president of the Texas Minutemen, said that they're bringing camping gear, weapons, and they will have night vision goggles, and that can see in the dark, and so they can find out what's going on.
I could see in the dark.
I know. And Stephen J. Teo Clayburgh apparently is an heir to the state's largest and most influential ranch.
Ooh.
He has 825,000 acres outside of Kingsville, which he calls King Ranch.
In Texas?
In Texas.
Wow.
It's larger than the state of Rhode Island.
Get out of here.
And he has invited the militia to
stay on his land.
Right. So that's what I said.
I want to make him my friend.
Yeah. So I definitely believe that they already know there are a lot more than 100 or 200 militia headed down there.
First of all, most of these people, they decided to turn back because it's too cold
Talking about the caravan
and dangerous.
thing.
Right.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so this Clayburgh says if we get 2,000 or 3,000 people, we will need the militia. So I think we've talked a lot about Civil War.
It's
all
here.
these things to me, whether it's going on in Croatia or, with like what you're talking about or what we're talking about here.
This is just a scam on the public. And the Democrats said that now they want to pass a law to give amnesty to all of these illegal immigrants and give them the right to vote, because then they'll vote for the Democrats and put them in power, and then that's the end of the United States forever.
Mm-hmm. So lots of things are going on there, really right under our nose, so to speak.
Really?
So I want to remind people that our webinars, the November classes have started. It's too late, you can't join it, but we will be having a special member discount on the webinars. So if you're a member of the site, be sure and sign up. We have a few spaces left. It's a wonderful, wonderful class. It's called Affirming You, and we're talking about a lot of amazing things that we are also discussing on my November study blog,
that's nice.
which is Be the Change. And, that is kind of a, what do you want to call it, a phrase that has kind of been taken over into something it's not. So I'm explaining to you what it really is and giving you tools so you can figure it out for yourself, because being the change is not what people think. So that's a fascinating topic.
I'm a change.
And of course, it is less than $1 a day.
That's what
to
I get.
join
That's
our
my salary.
unless they're a member, then it's like 53 cents a day.
That's more than my
So
salary.
$1 a day for you.
You're probably keeping all my salary.
$1 a day for you is pretty good.
Seriously,
So-
I haven't even seen that.
If you read the testimonials, you will see that people are saying, we wish we would have found this before, because it is changing lives. So join our study blog, like, comment, share, subscribe on our YouTube channel, and be sure you work on your mind, because if you don't, somebody else is going to handle it for you. And you want to get a safe mind pattern.
Somebody needs to work on mine.
So that no matter what's going on out there in the world, if you have the safe mind pattern, you're going to be okay. Right?
Am I okay?
Yeah, we're still working on your mind pattern. So with that
It's a
said,
full-time job.
we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.